And clear of the closing doors, please.
What up, son? What up? Louis Max, Grind&Pivot, Queens, New York. Today, in the house, we have a real one, an artiste like no other, the #1 tattoo man in New York City, from Redrockettattoo, the founder and CEO, Mike Bellamy. How you doing, my brother?
Right here, right now, with you. It's good to be here. Good to be here via, video as we do now. And yeah, happy to be here. Talk about art.
Excellent. Good to see you, man. You're looking good. I know you, full disclosure, I know you for 20 plus years. You've been my tattooist and really the only one that's done major work on my body. And I want to kind of just go back to the beginning and find out, where this all started, where you're from, and get us up to snuff a little bit.
Back to the beginning. Where it all started for me was looking at this smear on my father's leg as we were growing up. And he had this little eagle he got when he went into he was like 19 or 20. And got this little eagle and it had faded and we didn't know what it was. So it was always there and we were always around tattooing. And so that was my kind of first look at it. Never thought much about it. It was just something that was always there. And then around my own 19, 20, 21, I don't remember exactly, I started looking into it for myself. And back then was in Denver, Colorado, where I was born and grew up. And the only people I knew back then had tattoos were my father, the people that got arrested on the news, and the guys that worked in the lumberyard. And that was it. And so I knew of a place of course, right near the high school where I went to high school. And I walked over there and got my first one. Didn't tell anybody and kind of let people find out as they found out. And that was it for that. And didn't think much about it again. Another 7 years. Came out to New York and I went to art school. Went to Parsons School of Design where I studied illustration and met a guy over there, Chris Mason, whose business card says Renaissance Man. And if he's not, he's a liar. So I learned from him and just from hanging out with him. And this was back in, probably started getting tattooed again in like 1990 or 91. And it was definitely underground and illegal in New York City back then.
Yeah. So going back, so it's about 30 years ago, 31 years plus.
Sure.
But you, as an artist, because I look at you as an artist, that actually, as of course, and a tattooist, but were you into art growing up? What was the story? You had some prowess there?
Prowess, maybe. High school prowess. Yeah, I always had interest and whenever the opportunity was there growing up and in school. I would take available art classes, whether it's a drawing class or a painting class. And I suppose an early influence is my father's brother and my godfather, whose name was John. And John was the artist that I knew. Like, he fit the bill. He was a hippie living in Dallas in a church that he had bought and renovated and spent his lifetime working on and building. And as a kid, 10, 11 years old, going into this atmosphere where there's like 10-foot nude paintings on the wall, sky blue with clouds everywhere, sculptures, just art everywhere. I mean, it was like fantasy land in there. It was amazing. Wow. And couldn't help but be like lost in it. And him being my godfather, there was this connection of this special kind of the energy and the magic of it was all right there. So that was with me forever. And like I said, I came out to New York to go to art school. So I pursued it all the way through school one way or another, and was painting independently on my own. And but I never really thought about tattooing until art school and meeting Chris and kind of being reintroduced to the people around it. But otherwise, Parsons was all about illustration. And after a while, I pushed more towards oil painting. And that's what I was interested in. So a lot of my illustrations, I started doing in oil as opposed to other medium, and worked it like that. One thing school doesn't prepare you for is getting a job or making a living or how to succeed or how to proceed even after school. So if you're not like in the loop and in the know and working with it already, you're just kind of, whoop, go ahead, go get a job. And so that lasted a little while, not long enough, and ended up getting a straight job in a factory cutting glass.
Really?
Yeah.
Mike Bellamy cut glass in a factory. That's new. Wow, that's new. Okay, that's something new.
You never know. Smooth as glass. Anyway, I was pretty good at it, made all right living, and that was going nowhere. And so I started hanging out more around tattoos, the tattoo studio downtown.
Yeah, Lower East Side, lower the village area, whereabouts mostly?
Back then, again, back in the day stories, there was a shop called Kaleidoscope on Canal Street owned by Wes Wood. And an artist named Anil Gupta was there. And my buddy from school, Chris, he was doing it out of that shop. So I would go down there, you would ring the bell, you would sneak up these crazy stairs, go down the hallway in this, kind of crapped out building. And there was Kaleidoscope, this magic little tattoo area. And a little oasis of magic down Canal Street.
You got hooked, basically. Did you kind of get hooked on the whole, like when you were hanging out down that way and going to Kaleidoscope? I mean, Anil, I know. It was the scene kind of played into your whole what you were about in a way. Was it just something cool? What was it? I mean, I know it was a subculture basically at that time, right?
Sure. Yeah, definitely subculture. And it was, it wasn't like you turn on TV and every grandma has a tattoo already. Back then, it definitely was symbolic of something and something outside of the norm and underground. Like I said, in New York City, it wasn't even legal when I started doing it. So you had to seek it out. And the people that were doing it were characters, man. Like they were all outlaws. They were all underground. They were all doing their own thing. And there was a rich subculture there that I just barely started tapping into at that point. So what got me really was the idea that I could draw my own picture and put it on me or have it put on me. Like I can do this myself. I can design my own. I don't have to choose from a book. And that gave me all the freedom I needed to be able to pursue it. Also, there was a cool factor, like, oh, wow, like the underground coolness of it. Like you're doing what? And you really can make a living at it. And once I did and started making a living, I mean, I wasn't making that much. So if I made 300 in a night, that was a good night.
Yeah, that's real. That's real.
In 92, 93 or whatever, that was a pretty good night. And it was enough that like, oh, hey, man, now I've got this cash on me. I'm sticking that in my sock and like $20 in my pocket. You can have the 20. I'm keeping my 3. You know what I mean? So It felt like that at the time. Like, wow, I stepped up. So from then, like, there really wasn't any looking back.
Take us inside the head of a young Mike Bellamy, just starting out, learning a little bit of the business. I would say somewhat inexperienced. What was it like putting that first needle into someone's skin? Now, my question also is, what was it like the first time? And the first time was a couple of times you did it. Were they people you knew, or were they, random customers? And what was it like? First, what was it like?
All right. What was it like? So relatively inexperienced. I was exactly inexperienced. And what I had was hanging around the tattoo shop, borrowing some tools, some machines, working on whatever. One day I brought in a chicken leg and I pulled the skin off and I worked on the meat because there was flesh. And
very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, it was that's what I could think to use maybe before I learned about pigskin. Then people were using pigskin, so you could get it at, like the Sea Town in the East Village, Lower East Side, and wash the salt off that thing, a little piece of fat back, and tattoo that.
Wow.
On a hot summer, that shit stinks. I'm not kidding. So, you talked earlier about pet peeves. Like, none of these freaking kids today are doing that, tattooing a piece of fat back on a hot day in New York City. So
that's cool. You know what? I never really knew that. I think a lot of people probably don't even know that. That's real interesting.
But what else are you practicing on back then? I had one of those little rubber things that keeps a pencil from rolling off the desk. Tattooed that little rubber thing. So this was before, like, now they make something called tattoo skin, or they make appendages, heads, arms, whatever.
Right. So there's many like canvases now that people can actually practice on.
And it's better than pigskin probably. So,
right.
Yeah, man. So you take all of that, and like machines that sort of work right, sort of don't, I didn't have the experience tuning them really, or, what's this thing do, and how far do you turn the dial, how fast and how hard should it hit? So, but you just go for it.
Right. Do you remember your first one? You remember distinctly, your first round? Can you tell us that experience?
First person I ever tattooed. I mean, it was illegal anyway. So the kid was 16. He was the cousin of the girl I was dating at the time. And we did it in my loft apartment out in Greenpoint off of McGinnis. And thing took 5 hours. I did the same tattoo, 10 years later, and it took about 2 hours. So that's the experience difference.
Right. What was the feeling? I mean, like, was there any fear about, like, you're going to knock this guy, permanently? And
I think, what? Yeah, of course I was nervous. My hand was shaking, like really shaking. I know my first lines look like a seismograph. But, I got it in and it went in. So that was good. Settled down and we both got through it. Like, he wasn't complaining, and that was it. We did what we could do for the night. We finished it the next day, and he was happy. Everybody was happy. And as far as I know, he took care of it, or not. I don't know. Haven't seen him, but hope he's all right. Hope your leg stayed on, buddy. But yeah, it was a little bit terrifying, but also being naive about it. I didn't know what I should be terrified of, like all the bad things that could have really happened, or
right.
Like, I didn't know. And so now I know a lot more of the responsibility of what you're getting into when you're doing it.
Right. Do you still experience anxiety now, these many years later, prior to going in, setting up? I mean, full disclosure, I've had a lot of work done by you, and we've discussed many many in art, whether it be what's going on, what it's going to be, the colors. I mean, we really put some time into it, and I know, and I'm pretty sure you do that with almost everybody, or whoever, or if those people want to. But just my relationship with you, what's your feeling when you're getting ready to say, all right, let's go, it's showtime. You still kind of get that rush? You still getting a rush or a little bit of butterflies in there?
Sometimes I get a rush over a good project, something I'm very excited to work on and get it going. And I have some anxiety over doing a good job, like making sure it's working right, it comes out right. I have anxiety with people in general, so tattooing on people is a really bizarre idea for me in the first place. So
what's that anxiety that can you share that with? Because I think a lot of people that also listen to our interviews, share that and kind of want to know what the anxiety that you might have.
Without going super deep into things, I have sort of a general discomfort around people to where it takes me a while to open up around a person. And so if it's a new client, I always have a little bit of discomfort until I can suss out their personality. And so I usually try and break in with some jokes or say something stupid or whatever, and to see where they're at. And if they respond to it, then hey, we can kind of open up and let loose a little.
Oh, you mean when someone comes in and you're like that nasty fuck, and
those are tough ones because I kind of give what you give, and if you're cool, I'm gonna be super cool. But if you're an asshole, like,
yeah, you're done. You're done. That's true. That's true. I've seen. Yeah, that's fair.
I know you've seen it. Shut down, like,
yeah. So I didn't know that really about the anxiety, but I think it's interesting because when we talk about the anxiety, you have anxiety personally, let's just say with the people, and then you have to overcome that anxiety awareness when you're actually permanently marking these people, and they're real juiced about everything, but they want it to come out so perfect. It's got to come out this way. I'd be flipping, I'd be out of my mind.
There's a lot of I don't know. I don't know if anyone else feels it. It's just what I'm talking about. But I feel pressure to make sure that it goes well. I don't like hurting people. I know tattoos hurt. I know if you're uncomfortable, things start to move around. It makes me uncomfortable. So, there's all that. Like, how is it going to go? Is this like, say I'm going to start something in 5 hours. I'm going to guess about 5 hours. Guy doesn't have anything, or he has something like this big. And I don't know if he's going to sit for the 5 hours or not, like how he's going to do or not. So there's always a little trepidation when you go in, and, I don't know, a lot of factors in making it go smooth. So,
right. No, absolutely.
Things, I guess.
So you've obviously tattooed many, many, many people. How about the relationship with your clients? I mean, I think that's something to be talked about. You've have a lot of years under your belt, and you have a lot of friends, I think, that you probably have tattooed. You've had people that have come in off the street, just walk-ins, and then you've had people like myself who literally over 20 years ago, was a bit into the tattoo magazines. I collected, for everybody know, there's used to be magazines on the newsstands, which was a big deal. And, they would feature artists from all over the world, really. And I was so into them. I had piles and piles, and I followed them and I watched, and I had nothing really. I had small little work because it was just one of those things I never was really able to, let myself go and do. But once I did, I saw some of your work, artistic work, in a magazine, and I basically just sought you out, like anybody else, I guess, would. And obviously we hit it off. But it was also, a learning experience, I think, for both of us, as the relationship started. Now, do your relationships with clients are they that way? Do they start do you really have serious consultation with a lot of people? Listen, I know people could be totally out of their minds about what they want, but it's so close and dear to you, the feeling to getting the meaning of what's going on in your body. So do you have, relationships from out of nowhere that have become, friends?
Yeah, absolutely. Over the years, if you're just coming in, you start like everybody else, we just start getting to know each other and talking about what we're interested in and what we're trying to do. And, some people, you don't know where it's going to go. So some people that have 20 ideas, hey, now maybe there's something. Some people that come in with one, they could come back later and have. So, you never really know when you start what you're going to get into long term or not. And some things do grow. So over 20 years, people add on, or, hey, I have this new idea about like what you and I are trying to do.
Right.
We get comfortable for a while and not really thinking, or other parts of life take over. And, it goes on vacation. And then we start thinking about tattooing again. So, that extends relationships. It builds because there's more communication. And over time, sitting in the chair, what else are you doing? So a lot of modern tattooers I see, they have their little earbuds in. They're not listening to anyone. They're not talking. They're just hyper in their work. And that's all good if you want that hyper work. And that's it. If you want a tattoo experience, then everyone is there communicating and feeling and thinking and talking or not, and going through it. So that's how friendships have built up, is just hours in the chair, talking about this, talking about that. There's a lot of intimacy and a lot of giving to tattooing that happens. And you can't get that with your earbuds on, or when you're in your little phone. It's like you're not getting a tattoo. You're not experiencing everything when you're like texting all your girlfriends and boyfriends and stuff. So you're a little bit removed. So the friendships grow out of that, being able to talk, sharing experiences, talking about, does it hurt? Give me 10 more minutes. You're building trust. You're giving comfort. You're giving relief. So there's a lot of things that exchange if you're really paying attention. And that's where the good relationships grow. So yeah, over the years, I've got people in my life, good dozen or so, from that 20 years, 20 plus, just from sitting in the chair.
Right. That's amazing. I think that's great. And I count myself as one of them. Aside from my man Albert, who I have to shout out, Big Al, and Dave, Big Dave, what other celebrated folk have you had the pleasure of administering pain to?
Celebrated. Well, of course, my man Mike Chan. Now he's down there in Dallas. I got my man Big Monster Inc. down in Florida. And kind of more celebrated people in the world. A long way back, I did Britney Spears when she had her free will.
Yeah, touche.
Boom.
Ooh, good one. Boom. Good one.
Don't sleep. And at one point, I tattooed John Mayer, who was super cool. He was very involved in what was happening, what he was doing, designing the tattoo, everything like that.
Right. And that's kind of what you like that, right? I mean, that's kind of something that
you're a known person. You come to me and I'm trying to treat you like a person, a real person. But I know that things are different. So I say to him, let me get a number, your agent or whatever, that I can, if something happens. He says, you could have my cell number. Right. So he's that kind of like direct person, and trust me, I trust him, all good stuff. So really appreciate it.
How has the industry changed over the last 15, let's say 10, 15 years, really, both that way, and has technology, really enhanced what's going on?
Yeah, the main factor in all of it is technology. and everything right now. So it's not just, you talk about magazines, technology is different. You get all this information on Instagram, Facebook, other platforms, electronic platforms now. So I don't even know the last time I saw an actual physical magazine,
Right.
tattoo oriented. So just that alone, technology and the fact that of shared information. So years ago, we went to a show in Poland and they did mostly black and gray work because they had a lot of trouble getting colored ink at that time. So at this point, like, the sky's the limit. Now Eastern Bloc countries are getting colors and they're doing amazing realism and crazy saturated color stuff.
Yeah, off the hook.
So, you know, just the availability, the sharing, all that technology. The machines have obviously gotten better if people are doing this hyper saturated stuff, and seems very fast. I don't know. But definitely the machines are different and better. They're more studied. They're more engineered. The inks have gotten better. That's a huge thing. So the technology and the science around this craft has gotten a lot stronger, a lot more positive.
Right. Definitely. Who are some of the tattoo artists that you've been influenced by? Anybody special that stands out? Any type of what's the word? Process, you know, whether it be Japanese, you know, something.
Right. My original was Japanese work. It's not what I first saw, but it made the biggest impression on me. The way they used the entire body, the way they would fill the entire body, composition, everything, just the totality of it. And the idea that the whole body is one overall thing is, that blew my mind. So I really jumped into that and started studying and working on that, looking into it. But who else influences? I mean, old guys, original Paul Booth, Bernie Luther, Philip Blue, you know, Jack Rudy.
Right, the old timers.
You know, Marcus Pacheco in New York back then, Eddie Deutsch back then, you know. These are the guys that kind of disappeared from the scene, but they were what you saw in the magazines back then. And they stopped doing it. They knew. They stopped putting work in the magazines because every scrub was copying them. So they stopped promoting their stuff. They were getting work, and they kind of fell out of the visual scene, but they kept working. And so that's what people don't know about now. That's why everyone's getting copied. Boom, I'm so proud of my work. And then somebody goes, I am too. I'm going to do that. And so they start copying it. And that's just another aspect of, like, the technology, what's happening today.
Interesting. What advice would you give to an upcoming artist, young person, or it doesn't matter, young or old, you know, an upcoming artist that wants a career in tattooing?
I would say don't be a fucking pest about it. You know, like, you're going to have to make your own way, and you're not going to be given it. It won't be given to you. So, you know, you should be prepared to work. You should be prepared to study. You should be prepared to sacrifice. And you should learn about where this thing is coming from that you're trying to do. The origins of tattooing. Why are you doing this? And if you think it's a cool way to make a living, you're right, but you're way fucking off about what tattooing is about. And so it is about the conversations. It's about the magic that you're putting into somebody. It's about the change that you're giving someone, the addition or the redirection of their body and their life and their energy. And that's what it's all about.
Right.
And it was never about, like, everybody, let's make a bunch of money off of this shit. It was about, like, the medicine people and the tribes that they gave that out to the people that needed it or deserved it, the warriors or the sick or the special. It was all about that. And it wasn't about, like, hey, make me look pretty, or that shit's done by that guy. Isn't that badass? I paid $8,000 for it. I don't give a shit about that. That's easy. Anybody can do that.
Interesting. Very interesting. So apprenticing. They should really cut their teeth in learning and watching and being involved. Almost like, somebody, I guess, back in the day with the music business, when they would go to a recording studio and, just kind of do anything they possibly could.
Learn how to pull cables before you move the dial. You know what I mean? And
right.
Like that here too. If you don't know how to make needles, what kind of a tattooer are you? You're just a practitioner. Like you're not the guy. And
right.
In the purest sense. I mean, yeah, you make tattoos, you do nice work. It's all good stuff. Nothing against that, but you're not coming from the original spot. Learn how to make needles, learn why they're made a certain way, why they're grouped a certain way, all of those things, and learn how to tune your machine, for God's sake. That's it. It's your craft. It's your tool.
That's true. It's true. What do you think the most misunderstood thing about tattooing, even though, the art of tattooing might be, called mainstream now? What do you think the most misunderstood thing about it is these days?
There's probably a lot of misunderstood things about it. I think one common thing is the practice of it. And I don't think people really understand because of the TV shows have diluted it. So I think people expect it to be like, boom, I get that thing in 3 hours, and I'm done, like my whole leg or my whole arm. And, the shows show this, it's this long, but they compact it into this, and people come in with that expectation. They think it's going to be cheap. They think it's going to be, oh, it's just a circle. That's simple. It's like you draw a circle, a perfect circle with your hand on a piece of paper, and then let's talk about it. So it's things like that. People coming in with their ideas because they've watched some shows or they've done their research, like what's happening today, and they don't really know. And they're sort of talking over the professional opinion of someone that's done it for maybe 20 years or 10 years or 5 years. Because how long have you done it? Not very long. So, you got to let the artist do his work. You got to trust him at some point. I think if you don't really want a tattoo, don't get a tiny one just cause. Like, just don't get it.
The question I'm trying to see is that how difficult is it running, a tattoo shop in 2021 as opposed to maybe, 10 years ago? Is there a big difference between now and then? Obviously, COVID has something to do with it, but I'm just saying, just in general, running a real bona fide, solid business, which you have been doing. So, maybe you could explain to some people what it's really like.
Again, sort of it's relative. So for a while, it wasn't as bona fide as you might imagine, just because we were inexperienced. And I've had some partners in my career, business-wise, and, some more effective than others. And I, at times, have been more effective than other times. So I think earlier we were allowed to get away with a lot more because
less restrictions.
Yes, because tattooing was so new. No one really knew how to regulate it or was even trying to pay that much attention. And if there was even inspectors or anything from the health department, they were restaurant inspectors. So they didn't even know what they were doing. So over time, it's been a lot, all of that's been tightened down, and there's been enough complaints and enough people out that are savvy, and they know what to look for, I think, in a professional shop. So everything has to be, you have to look at it all in a very professional way, because it is now a legit business. It's big enough that everyone knows about tattooing, and there's a shop on every corner. And so you really have to be on top of your game and on top of it to just stick around.
Yeah. How do you differentiate between like everybody else doing it? That's probably one of the harder things as well. I mean, yeah, what differentiate? I mean, like when I walk into your shop is immaculate. It's clean. It's professional. There's somebody in the front that greets you. There's somebody that is, not letting just anybody walk into the back and talk to the artist. I mean, that's the way any business should be. But for some reason, most, the shops, that I see, the tattooing shops that I've seen, or, you have to run it a certain way.
Well, I feel like now with so many shops and so much competition, you say the other guys and this. So I just picked up 2 new artists from the other guys. So those guys were the other guys at one point, and now they're with us.
Okay.
So it's kind of a hard, it's a weird separation or not. But what I tell everyone that works for me and with me is that what sets us apart. Our artwork is more or less like you can get tattoos.
Correct.
You can get that guy's there, all over the planet. A lot of similarities. So what makes us different, and especially in New York, is that we treat people well. We consider everyone. We don't reject people, and we try and do the right thing. We try and stay safe. We try and stay clean and courteous. And our attitude is the most positive thing that we can say about it. You're going to get a good experience. All of our artists are right there working with you. And, we're trying to be as friendly as we can be. We're not like some hipster joint. We're not trying to be like celebrity status, velvet rope type stuff. We're trying to help everybody out and be accessible and make it a comfortable place for people to come get tattooed. It's not one of those shops that it's all black metal. It's not one of those shops that it's all like one way. And it's not all cool guys. So it's just everybody. And that's it. We try and be friendly and kind.
Yeah.
So come on down.
Well said. Well said. We'll be definitely shouting that out. I mean, I've been going for a long time. I'm loyal to you, but I love, many of the artists that have been with you over the years. Shout out to Adam Guy Hayes. He's out in Denver, right? Is he out in Colorado still? Right. And, of course, Erica Flannis, my girl, Erica, and Shannon Ritchie, and just everybody that's kind of been around, over the years, doing great work. But it's interesting too. When I go there, I watch also. There's plenty of time to kind of just observe what's going on around you while you're waiting, anticipating your own. And I love the personalities. I love the camaraderie, and not only that, I love when there are like guests that come. You'll be underneath the needle for a couple of hours, and, a friend of a tattoo, the artist might come and start talking, and, you're in pain. You're definitely in pain, but you're laughing. Sometimes you are laughing so hard, or you're just listening. It's kind of like your eyes are closed, and it's a feeling. It's hard to relate it to anybody without you doing it. But it's really, everybody says that must have hurt. Oh, first of all, they always say, "Oh, that's unbelievable work. That's dope work." And I go, "Yeah, it's Mike Bellamy, Red Rocket Tattoo, New York City. Check them out." And then, "Oh, it must have hurt." And I said, "Yeah, it hurt. It hurts here. There's some parts that really hurt." And, one of the stories I want to tell is that, a lot of times when you're on me and, it's hurting me, so, I think I've been pretty good for all these years, but there are some spots that were, terrible spots, terrible. And, I look up and I'm like, I'm in pain, and your face, I love it. It's like, "You like that, huh? You like that, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." It's like it's almost like I know it's funny because before you said you don't want to hurt people. You don't get I don't think you really do get the pleasure, but I think you do get like a little juiced when somebody is squirming a little bit there, but knowing full well if I said stop, of course, you're gonna stop right away.
Yeah,
But
for sure. I mean, yeah, everybody wants to see their buddy squirm, and that's
right. Yeah, I know it really is a good experience. And listen, I've how many you have me and you've done both of my sons, so I think that's a pretty cool thing as well. What was a pivotal moment for you in your career? Could you go back or think of a pivotal moment in your career that you had you had a fork in the road where you took one way as opposed to another?
Yes, when I started my first shop in '98, I started it with a partner, Sean Vasquez, and I had hung out with him quite a bit and worked with him, and very exciting character in the scene, and one of the guys in Lower East Side from before I started. So I pursued him for a while, and we actually got to link up and make a shop. But over time, things fell apart, and wasn't really working out that well. And he spent most of his time in Austria, and so
Really?
yes, and it became too much of a rub, and so I decided on my own to take control of the shop and the space, and let him deal with his business over there in Austria and just separate like that. And I let him use the original name of Triple X Tattoo, which I came up with Richie Bulldog one evening. I think.
Oh, right, that's right. That's how you guys came. How did you come up with that? Just a quick story, if you want to give it to us.
Just like spitballing, brainstorming and throwing garbage out the window, and right. He
Yes.
came up with he said Triple X or something, and yeah, I liked it because it meant whatever you wanted it to mean, and it could be nothing, it could be anything, and I thought it was adaptable. So anyway, I let him continue using the name and the website and all of that, but I took over everything, the New York location, and changed it into Red Rocket, and been going strong ever since. So at that time, it was a big leap to understand that, can I do this on my own? What's happening? Then I realized he's not even here, so I'm doing it on my own already.
Completely, right.
That was the pivot right there. Going into our second 10-year lease, where we are at the corner of 36 and 6. Amazing. Just look up. It's above talk about.
That's all you have to do is look up. I mean,
there's good things when you look up.
Yeah, the experience. I mean, I come from Queens, so the experience for me has been, that subway ride. Yeah, I get out of the subway. I walk. By the way, the block from the subway to your shop is chock full of New York City experience.
Flavor all day long.
Right? All day long. I mean, that's alone is amazing. And then you make that turn and then you go up the stairs and, always it's like the heart starts beating, it's almost like you're doing something that is, you're not supposed to be doing, but it's just it's adrenaline. It's really adrenaline.
That's a lot of what it's about. It is the experience of it. I mean, you should be excited to do this because you're changing yourself. You're changing your body, you're changing your life in some way. And if it doesn't feel like that, then maybe it's not that important. Right. But it should feel innovating, in a good way.
Absolutely. You refuse anybody? You refuse any body parts? I mean, are there, you see a lot of kids now, the hip hop guys, a lot of rappers are, faces and stuff like that. You draw the line as an artist?
I do certain things for certain people at certain times. I try and consider all the way around, but I'm also trying not to limit someone's life. So kid comes to me one time, he's 18, no tattoos, dad's with him, wants a mushroom tattooed on his back of his hand. He has no other tattoos, and I refuse that because he doesn't know what it's about to have a tattoo. It's always in the open. You can't hide it. And that could potentially limit this kid's life. I don't know. He could decide to go somewhere else, but it's no longer my responsibility. So I didn't do that to him. And so I'm okay with that. Some other things, body parts, in terms of practicality, you know, a lot of times hands and other parts don't really work out as well. And so, you know, if you come to me and you say, hey, I want some hyper tiny clean thing on my hand, one, I probably won't do it because I'm not that precise anymore. So, and the hand is difficult to control. So I don't feel confident in giving you what you want. So I'm not going to do that to you. And things like that. If you're going to be racist or, you know, hateful or hurtful, I'm not going to do that. And again, it's like spectrum. Like, do I know you for how long? What are you into? Who are you? We talk about things, but if I don't know you, I'm not going to take responsibility for things.
Oh, by the way, congratulations. Shout out to Mike Bellamy. He is a father, Jamie, you and James. Big ups to you guys. A beautiful baby boy. And I know that's quite life-changing, but I'm so happy for you guys.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, my wife, Jamie, and I, and our son, John, we're excited about it.
Absolutely. So what's coming up? Talk to me. What are you looking forward to? What's coming up for Red Rocket, and anything you want to shout out for the future?
All right. So what's coming up is, if things are still working right, in October, we're going to the New York City Tattoo Convention. It's been going on since how long? Since it's been legal in New York, and didn't happen last year because of COVID, but it's still announced, and we're going to have a booth over there. So come check us out. Dates to follow, okay? And we have our artist, Erica Flanez, is going to be leaving us in October. She's moving herself down to New Orleans and going to start over down there. And we wish her a ton of luck and lots of love. And we'll see you again real soon.
No doubt. We love you.
We've had some people moving on. Greg Rosenfeld is up in upstate now, and you can find him up there. Same on Instagram, Greg the Hype Man. And Andy B is starting his own private studio, doing his portraits and his awesome black and gray. You can look him at Andy B Tattoos, at Andy B Tattoos on Instagram. And we've hired a couple of two new guys. One guy is named Mago. We got him from the neighborhood, and he's excellent. Does very clean, tight work. You can look at him at his is Inkbox Tattoo, Magic Box Tattoo, MAGIK _box tattoo. And we have a new gentleman named Abu Tattoo. He's from Tibet. And this guy is a real deal. You mentioned to him about to me about him. He's a little different in terms of his style. He is. He's actually studied in the ancient art of Tibetan Tonka painting. Wow. So the traditional religious paintings that hang in the monasteries and things like that, he knows how to make that. He knows all the geometry and the reasoning and how to make the expression, and he's the original deal. So he does fine work otherwise, all modern stuff. But come get some Tibetan guy from Abu Tattoo 1 at ABUTATTOO1 Instagram.
Yeah, that sounds interesting because you talked about before a little bit about the way the composition, the whole body is looked at as one kind of canvas. And that sounds real, authentic.
This Tibetan is definitely authentic style. All the geometry, he knows the precision, how to stack up to make these figures. And it's a real deal. He can do it freehand on you. So make a special day out of it and get something nobody has in New York.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Michael, I want to tell you, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with Grind and Pivot, pivotal moments that changed everything. I'm happy that you were able to take some time out and share some of your words of wisdom
It's been a long time coming, son.
It has, son. It really has. I mean, I have so many, I have so many things, I want to, that I'm thinking about talking about, but I will say that I'm representing today. I'm going to stand up for a second. I am representing.
Yes. Yes.
I got one of the originals back in the day, but I'm your number one. I'm your number one fan, my brother. I don't care what anybody says. I really am, and I've trusted you not only with my body, but when we discuss and anybody who's listening who's thinking about getting a tattoo, whether it be from another artist, and by the way, I want to say also, I think that was real nice of you. And this is what Red Rocket's all about. The camaraderie, the family. The guy's real. When I say he was a real one, he shouts out and will give other folks, the praise and the recommendations that will help them as well. One of the good things about it is that when, we discuss, a project, and this is why I think when I tell everybody Red Rocket's the place to go, you want something and Mike will do it. Well, he'll do whatever you want, really. He really will kind of do whatever you want, but he really will open you up a little bit. He'll open you up, and make you start to think about it is. And then it becomes it becomes a tag team. It becomes teamwork, where I've been able to come up with the ideas and the concept. And after all these years, I trust him. And I say, here's basically what it is. We have the idea, you come up with it. And I say, Michael, do your thing. Red Rocket Tattoo, New York City, 78 West 36th Street, Midtown Manhattan. By the way, another thing I'll say as a footnote, when you get there and you're standing in the corner, because he's in the back right corner, and you're waiting for him to, get his act together and get things set up, you look out the window. He's got these big ass windows, and my, oh my, do you get a New York City experience? Whoa. Am I right?
You're right. You are right.
Absolutely. So again, I want to say thanks so much. My brother, you look great. I hope you're feeling well. I wish you only good things to you and James and the shop. I want to just say peace and thanks, man.
Hey, I appreciate the time. Peace to you.
Closing doors, please.